Giselle, is it you doing the welcome, or you want me or George to take on the welcome?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I'll start. I'll let George go second, and then we'll kick it off. So, welcome to our second Public Advisory Committee meeting for our Parks Master Plan update. I appreciate all of you guys that are here, either in the room or virtually. Hopefully, a couple more people will hop on. I just want to share just very quickly that this has been a really informative process for me. I have learned an incredible amount in the past several months. You know, I worked for the county for 18 years, and the county had parks, but in the planning role, we never really dealt with them all that much. We rewrote a Parks Master Plan. We did it internally in about 2017 and 18, and it was nothing like this. I mean, it was a pretty low bar project, given what I've been learning. But I just really appreciate the contract team. It's been fun to get to know George and to work with him relative to the Park District, and I appreciate the PAC members. I just can't thank you all enough. I'm excited about what this means for the city going forward with an adopted Parks Master Plan come late summer. The impacts to what we're going to do in parks over the next several years. We're identifying next fiscal year as a design year, and the year after that is a build year. And I just think there's going to be some really positive outcomes. So anyway, welcome and thank you all for participating. George, do you want to add anything?
No, just same thing. I'm grateful we're going through this process, and really Shapiro and Didway have been awesome to work with, learn this process. So hopefully everyone you have input that will really help us know what we need to do.
Yeah, thank you. So again, welcome. Introductions. There's not a lot of us here, so I don't know that we really need to do introductions. I think most of us met Aaron and Mario last meeting. So, yeah, Giselle, I'll just pass it off to you to kick off with the meeting purpose and agenda review.
Awesome. I'm going to share my screen. Make sure I can do that.
Let me see.
And then, let's see.
Yeah, you should be able to share.
Share this screen. Okay. Good. Bring it up. Share. All right. And it's going to the wrong screen.
No, you can't see my feet.
Well, I'm gonna have to share the other screen. Hang on. It doesn't want to go to the right screen.
I have that trouble all the time.
It's a bit annoying, but that's all right. All right. Okay. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So as Carla mentioned, this is our second Public Advisory Committee meeting. The purpose of today's meeting is to review all the information gathering that we've kind of done to date, make some decisions in regards to a couple student competitions and in regards to a couple park facility relocations. So we're going to start out our discussion today looking at the review of the community survey results, and that's really only focusing on the multiple choice. And then we're going to follow that up with looking at each of the facilities and kind of a summary. It's high level, and it does not include all the input. We've gotten some really rich input. We just haven't had time to process everything. So just a high level overview, including some of the written comments that were in the community survey, and trying to kind of summarize that and condense it into a presentation format. So you're not going to get everything, but all the meeting summaries are going to be posted to the city website if you want to see more detailed comments. And then this will be developed after our meeting further, and we'll publish kind of a needs assessment summary, which incorporates all of collective public outreach. Then that's going to be followed by the relocated park facilities. We're going to discuss the splash pad location, the dog park, and the skate park. We're looking for your advisory input on those locations so the city can make a informed decision, final decision. We'll look at the student competitions. There's 2 competitions, a park naming and a park design competition that the students have selected. Then we're going to take a really short break, and then we're going to get back to talking about some project goals and objectives. So we've got a pretty crammed meeting, but hopefully I won't move too fast. All right, so we'll start out with the survey. A lot of this is just going to confirm information that you already know. Most people access, how often do you or your family visit Boardman Park? Most people access the park rarely with a big chunk, weekly or monthly were the primary frequencies. Talking about when your family visits the park, the highest use is in the evenings and on the weekends. People primarily drive, but Boardman is known as a walking community, so there is about 11% of at least the survey respondents who do walk to parks. The most desirable park in the park system was Marina Park, followed by City Hall Park, and then special use facilities in City Park. Those are all kind of the same, but by far the Marina Park is most visited. And then asked, why do you visit parks that you selected? A lot of people, the majority of people talked about recreational opportunities, and it was close to their home or quiet and natural settings and family-friendly features. But you can tell the percentages are all very close to each other. So those are all motivating factors for visiting the parks in the park system. Challenges.
Hey, Giselle.
Yes.
Can you go back
Yeah.
one slide? I just want to point out that in the summary back one slide.
No, yeah. Let me escape.
Sorry. I was just gonna.
No, that's okay. It should just be able to go back, but
Yeah, that's weird. It's the question that says, why do you visit the parks you selected? On that particular one, we're not seeing in the summary, that's the printed document summary, we're not seeing all of the options. They didn't all show up. It's like every other one showed up.
Oh, I see that.
So there's numbers with no definition of what the number's tied to. I just want you to know about that so that you can fix that in the document. It might be a spacing issue.
In this one?
Yeah, so that
Is it this one
question,
you're talking about? Okay.
yeah, that question in the document, location proximity, family friend, so every other one, amenities and safety and cleanliness don't show up. The numbers are there,
Okay.
but the reason that corresponds to these
Okay.
numbers are missing.
Okay.
Thanks, I wanted you to be aware of that.
I think I caught a couple other things in the draft that I sent you, so if you see anything else, let me know. I'll make a note of it.
Okay.
All right. Challenges, weather-related limitations. Many people said none. And then lack of recreational options were the biggest challenges that prevents people from enjoying Boardman Park. This is looking at satisfaction rated on a scale of neutral, which is green, orange is needs improvement, blue is excellent. You can see when you start to look at the orange and green together, cleanliness rises to the top, swimming areas, restrooms, sports courts. Those are all things that people felt need improvement, at least that rose to the top. There's obviously other community interest and desire for improvement in other areas too, but those are the ones that rose to the top. looking at what improvements would you like to see, looking for general amenities, things that rose to the top, misting stations for cooling off, accessibility upgrades, improved pathways and pedestrian connections, lighting for evening and night activities, group shelters, shade structures, restroom upgrades and additions, and then playground updates. All were kind of consistently important, with restroom updates and lighting for evening use receiving a higher importance. Recreational sports facilities, most of them were seen as desirable or important, but what rose to the top, walking and biking trails, volleyball, softball, baseball field improvements, soccer field improvements and additions, outdoor multi-sports court, and then basketball courts were things that were a little bit higher than the rest.
Just on that one, just let you know, the numbers did not come out on the printout.
Yeah.
Okay, that's number 7. Numbers.
8.
Thank
Page
you.
8. Or
Oh.
8.
Okay. Is it the one before, right? Or is it 8 you're talking about, or the one before?
Yeah, question number 8.
Okay.
8B.
Questioning.
Yeah, 8B, the
Got it.
recreation and sports.
Oh, yeah, 8B.
facilities.
Okay. Here's some others. What improvements we'd like to see as far as park beautification projects, upgraded site furnishings, sustainable initiatives, public art, more trees, improved landscaping. These were pretty obvious, the higher importance to the community versus some of these others. Would you support city cleanup? It was really nice to see that the city is very supportive and said yes, that they would help support a city cleanup day to improve park appearance.
Yeah,
Moving
just
into
question 14 and 15.
Got it.
Oh, sorry. We are just going over just the multiple choice, not the open-ended. So I skipped this question 14. Question 15, are there enough indoor recreational spaces in Boardman? There, I think a resounding no. 74% of those surveyed said no, there was not. This question 17, the district is considering expanding the recreational center. How important are the following potential improvements? You're looking at this list, you can see between your percentages, you know, in the 40s to mid 30s, they're all important to the community. When you start looking at the orange and the green together, I think they all within a 10 to 20% range show a mid-level to very important to the community.
Hey, Giselle. So
Go
the
ahead.
question that you're not covering between 15 and 17 is, let me let Ethan in. That talks about what indoor recreational improvements should Boardman prioritize. I am not quite sure how to understand that, because the average rank, I'm guessing the way it was asked, so people ranked it 1 to 4. And so you're identifying that the average rank.
Yep.
Okay, and 1 was most important.
One is most important. Yes.
So the
sorry,
smaller the number, the higher. I
kept.
kept looking at that, trying to make it sense, and I should have just talked to myself out loud. It would have worked. Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
You're fine. Can you read off of that, since it's not in the presentation deck, the order of ranking? So there was four indoor facility improvements that were ranked. It was recreation center 1. What were the other 3? The order.
Right. So expanding the Boardman Pool and Rec Center was 1. A new indoor sports complex was 2. Creating more community gathering spaces was 3. And updated field house at City Hall Park was 4.
Yeah. And so you can see with the average numbers in that they're still pretty close.
They are.
The average that those received. They're all pretty close. But it's nice to have a list or what's prioritized. All right, so back to 17. The colors on this got flipped, so I'm going to change that. That's something I just noticed. So in this one, very important is green. Moderately important is orange, and blue is not important. So I would look at the ones that have green as being, so outdoor fitness space, more fitness equipment, expanded weight room, and aerobic free weights. So I'm going to correct what I just said. Those three kind of came to the top in regards to what's most important at the rec center.
Maybe because the outdoor one conflicts with what they said earlier. About not being able.
So
to
again,
Mhm. I think that's a timing limit.
It's a seasonality issue. Recency factor will play a part here.
Yep, that's.
I didn't hear that if it was directed to me.
Not so much. We were just talking about the timing of the survey and how the timing of the survey may have impacted the answers. And I just referenced it's recency factor. So, you know, we know what's happened in our lives in the last 3 weeks, not necessarily 9 months ago or 6 months ago. So
It's going back to the question where
right.
talking about weather keeps them from going to the parks.
Right. And I think when we look at the demographics at the end too, that might inform some of the findings too. So what improvements would you make to the recreational center more accessible? Again, looking at green things, programs open to non-members, extended hours and more flexible program schedules, discounted memberships and fees, kind of rose to the top. But you can see that the on-site daycare, improved transportation options, you know, those are still up there once you combine them with the orange, the moderately important. So I think most of these, again, are important to the community. Would you be willing to help support the desired improvements by supporting a small increase in district tax base? Yes, was the response from those who responded. Interesting, looking at some of the demographics, 35% of those who took the survey were under 18. 25%, 25%, and 15% respectively for 18 to 34, 35 to 54, and 55 and above. Looking at the demographics, what stood out to me is the Hispanic and Latino is 37%, white is 47%. So that's not representative of the demographics of the city, which is well over 60%, correct, Carla?
Yeah.
As far as Hispanic.
Yep.
So that's of importance to note. Asking, this is a little out of order, but I can't go back, sorry, but it was asking about disabilities, which was one of the last 12% of the population who replied has a disability in their home, which I think is important to note. That's a pretty large percentage. And then looking at how many people in your household, 43% have between 4 and 5, 11% 6 plus. So larger household sizes, which I think confirms what is trending in Boardman. And then looking at select all the following that describe your living and family situation. So 38% has kids, 49% live with a spouse or a partner. 11% have a multi-generational household, 4% live alone, 2 with a roommate, 51% own their home, 7% rent their home. And then other, given the large percentage of kids, most of the responses under other was I live with my family or parents, 23%. And then if you have kids in your household, how many do you have? Thought this was interesting. 1, 2, and 3 were the largest percentage, but we got 5, 4, 5, 6, and 9 were other responses.
We got 9 kids.
Police took our survey.
It's a busy day.
I just wanted to ask the group, was there anything that surprised you about the findings?
No.
Except for the point that you brought up a minute ago about the weather issue being one of the biggest reasons we don't use the outdoor facilities in parks, but yet one of the biggest things they want to see is an outdoor recreational facility.
Yeah. Right.
They're kind of talking both sides, or you know.
It's a contradictory response. Yeah.
The timing of the survey. I have to say, just comparing this to a lot of the other projects that we do, I feel like we got a fair amount of Hispanic input compared to what we normally see.
Yes.
So even though it's not representative in the percentage, I'm really impressed
Yeah.
that we got as many as we did.
I agree. I was pleasantly surprised when I saw that the percentage of Hispanic participation was as high as it was. Because that's not the percentage that we got when we did the community survey at the front end of this process back in the fall. So I don't disagree that it's disappointing, but I think it's
more engagement than we've had.
yes,
That's
yes.
based on Norma. She's based, put that on
And I'm not
Facebook.
sure-
Keep doing it, Norma.
I'm not. Norma, you were gonna say something. I think I saw your hand go up. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Barely. Turn your volume
Yeah.
up maybe a little bit.
So I shared it on Facebook, and there was a couple of sections where they couldn't move forward unless they answered a specific way, even though they didn't want to answer that way. So I think we had some issues there. So they
Okay.
were not able to move forward unless they answered a certain question the way that
That would.
they wanted them to answer.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe the question shouldn't be mandatory. So if people skip a question, that they have the flexibility to skip the question.
Yeah, and I think they were
because there were certain.
They were trying to answer in a certain way, and they couldn't put their answer, which was one of the options, but they were not allowed to. I guess they couldn't move forward unless they pushed a negative or whatever. But yeah, that was
Okay.
that was on Facebook, that they were not able to do a few of the questions how they wanted to answer. They could not.
Okay, I think that's good to note for Carla and George as you do other outreach. I think that if you're saying that the demographic percentage is increased since other projects, I think that's a really positive thing. So build on that. And then Norma, thank you for the input, because I think that the way that the survey was delivered can be simplified, and that not all answers have to be required to get more input in return. So I think that's good feedback for the city on how the survey is structured. And we do have one more survey, so that'll be issued as part of this project. So we'll take that into consideration. Thanks, Norma. The train's going by. I'm just gonna.
I will share this while the train's going by. I was not surprised, but I was pleasantly, I was just pleased that the results for the willing to go out for more tax money. I was happy to see that be up.
What does it take to pass? Does it take 60% to pass a bond these days? I haven't been involved with the bond in a long time. I haven't paid any attention.
We do 50
Yeah, I
plus
think
1.
50 plus.
Is it 50 plus one?
50 plus 1.
Yeah.
So you're clearly at 50. I mean, if this is truly representative, you were at 50 plus
That's
more
what
than
I
one.
said. I said to him, like, go for a levy.
Yeah.
Go for a bond.
Yeah.
Like, this is, if they're that interested and that engaged, right now is the time to like bring that. But
It will be.
All right, you guys are getting a little echoey, so I'm trying to hear you. But if I cut you off, please just tell me, because I don't mean to.
You take over, please.
side conversation.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so this next section, we're looking at community needs. And I just want to put the disclaimer here that this does not include all of the community. We got a lot of community outreach. It was really exciting. We probably engaged with at least 100 people through our focus group discussions, our tabling events, and our meeting attendance. And in addition, we hosted a community open house, the first public advisory meeting, and the community survey, which had 144 responses. So I feel that there was some really rich input, and so we have not processed it all, but we're trying to give you a high-level overview of some of the things that we heard. But before we dive in, we met with the Senior Center, Boardman Foods, students at the Riverside High School, Family First Child Care Center, the Umatilla, I'm probably saying that wrong, Morrow Head Start, Sam Boardman Elementary School Teachers Lounge, and then the other meetings that I just said. So that's what's informing. And in addition, our team did a site visit when we kicked off the project with city staff and district staff. And so that's an additional input that has informed what some of the things you're going to see. But I apologize, it will not include everything, but hopefully it'll give you a high level view. So first we'll just look at like system-wide. Some of the themes that really stood out was equitable park access and distribution. There was a desire to improve access to parks across all neighborhoods, but especially on the south side of I-84. And then doing upgrades to existing neighborhood parks in general, any parks that had facilities, there was a strong emphasis on upgrading what you already have. Maintenance and safety was a huge theme that came to the top. Things like restroom improvements, playground and field conditions, pavilion and facility upkeep, lighting and security, animal and pest control, including managing the geese population, improving water quality by removing trash, glass, algae, were things that rose to the top in regards to maintenance. Park amenities and features, the more shade and weather protection, so more trees, shaded seating, covered play areas was really important. Seating and gathering spaces, more benches, picnic tables, pavilions, play and recreational spaces enhancements. There was a desire for larger, better equipped playgrounds for all ages, encompassing from small children, early childhood, on up to engaging with children that are, older. Sports and fitness facilities, there's a lot of input on desired sports and fitness facilities, but soccer fields, pickleball, tennis, outdoor fitness equipment, and then there's some over here in this desired park facilities, and we'll cover more as we kind of move through the survey, things from gun ranges to golf. There was lots of input, and I think that will be covered a little bit more fully when we give our final kind of needs assessment summary. And then back to the thing, there's also a desire for signage and wayfinding. So parks, very few park identification signs. There was a need for wayfinding signs, safety near water's edge, regulatory signs like pick up your poop, interpretive signs for cultural and historical interpretation. Accessibility and connectivity was another theme. So a lot of people really wanted to see improved sidewalks, trails, and connections throughout Boardman. ADA compliance was lacking throughout the park system, not just with pathways and play features, but site furnishings. Most do not meet ADA, are not ADA compliant. And then water access, expand access to the river and marina amenities. Does anybody have a question, or was that just a clearing of the throat?
Clear the throat.
Okay, clearing of the throat. Okay. I hate that I'm looking over here and not at you, so I'm sorry, but that's where the screen is. Actually, what if I did this? I'll move my camera. Okay, there we go. Okay, now I feel better. I feel like I'm talking to you. Community and event space, so an amphitheater and outdoor venue space, a space for events, concerts, community activities. There was a note about expanded pavilion capacity, not just in quantity, but also in size. Defined park use and programming. So what are parks being used for, and can it be more clearly articulated? And the parks function a little bit more clear with what you build there. Technology and infrastructure, there was a request for Wi-Fi service. And then trail maintenance and expansion. So trail repairs was repeatedly seen, fix the uneven surfaces, tree root damage, potholes. And then this is also repeatedly seen new and expanded trails, so develop multi-use paths and scenic walking loops with an emphasis on long distance, anywhere from 10 to 20 miles was what we had heard. Looking over at the map exhibit, this is looking at the overall park. We kind of zoomed in, and I tried to, where I could, put little keys onto the map so that you could see where people are talking about improvements. So one The thought was to provide a looping, closed looped trail where you cross Main Street and then come through the park blocks and come back to the waterfront with a crossing over the highway, north back to the waterfront, and create a looping walking loop using those kind of that routing. And then it was brought to the attention at the public open house that this piece of land highlighted between the BPA easement and the highway, highlighted in the red dash, is owned by the Army Corps and the BMI land. It has a pond, and so there was a discussion about how to coordinate access to that land and connect it to the BPA easement as it's enhanced.
Giselle,
All right, now, yeah.
your reference to BMI, that might be BLM.
Yes, Bureau of Land Management, that's.
I think it's BLM land.
Yep.
All right, and I'm going to edit that. Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, I will edit that. Thank you. And if there's any other errors, a lot of the notes were taken through interviews and talking and writing things down very quickly. So if you see something else that needs some correction, please tell us. All right, so next we're going to focus on the waterfront. So we have some really rich ideas overall from the community meeting and other input. This feedback primarily focuses on what we heard at the community meeting. But if you follow my cursor, can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Yes.
You can, okay. So I'll just try to direct you to where I have my cursor. So one, the treat area kind of west of the ball fields. People thought that might be a nice location for a pump track. Two, the little triangular space down by the parking lot, maybe put a skate park there. Three, people would like to see a path connection connecting the end of the Heritage Trail across the marina and connecting into the day use park. Four, RV campground expansion. Five, marker 40, add cabins, or expand marker 40 to the cabins and add shade structures across that frontage. 6, point of interest, the thought that you can interpret old Boardman, and this could become a stand-up paddleboard area since there's a lot of debris and the water's very shallow. It's not good for boat access, but it can be used for stand-up paddleboards. 8, around the nose here, fishing platforms. 9, suggested improvements at marker 40 included a dock, shade, pergola, gazebo, more seating, cornhole, horseshoes. Those are a few things that were picked up in discussions in the survey. Sailboard beach suggestions, adding a fishing platform like Lost Lake or Solilo Falls. And then there was a thought about adding a small shade structure and bench. Go ahead. How do you say it?
I just had a comment about the fishing thing on Sailboard Beach. You have to walk out. You can walk out there 300 yards before it's above your chest, so it's not a very good fishing spot.
Besides the
Okay.
Corps of Engineers and
Yeah.
it just isn't gonna be a.
And your reference on number 10 to
Good heads.
no, sailboard beach suggestions, fishing platforms like at Lost Lake or I think that should be Solilo Falls, which would be spelled differently. CELILO.
Yeah.
CELIO.
CELILO. It's Solilo Falls is actually underwater at this point in time.
Oh, okay.
So the Solilo
Well,
fishing area is it's got covered by the Dalles Dam.
It's down more. They still fish that way by the Dallas Dam.
Yeah.
They do. They still have the
Platforms.
the platforms. Yeah. Those are also tribal.
Yeah, so that's
yeah.
but that's what the person that we spoke to is referencing that. I'm not familiar with those two locations, but it sounds like you are. So that type of fishing platform is what they had in mind. And then we received some interesting feedback about the disc golf area, but I just simplified it. It's nicknamed Goat Golf. There was input that there should be more green space, that your discs get lost, and then other discussions where people said, well, that's the way that it was designed. It was designed to be a more challenging course. And so that was the intent. So we got mixed information, but that was the thought about the disc golf area. Anything, so I'm going to pause because I'm going to move on from the waterfront. Is there any thoughts on the waterfront or comments?
And is this just discussion stuff or is this legitimate stuff? Because there's some things that just need to be, because it's never gonna exist.
I think because the public doesn't know what is allowed and what's not allowed. It's just stuff that they want to see.
Yeah. In a perfect world.
Right.
So are we
Right.
keeping that?
Well,
To give them hope of it possibly, or are we editing to?
I think the conversation that probably staff need to have with Giselle and her team are what people might want, and then we need to balance that with, given the underlying landowner, there are some of these things that just might not happen. And that's also the previous slide where you had the pond area. That red space, it just may not happen because at this point in time, we don't have a willing landowner.
And I don't want to give anybody false hope.
Right, false hope, I would agree, we don't wanna build false hope into the final park master plan document.
Right.
So
But we could put, like, the senior center said that they're really excited about the connection to the BBA easement, for example. So maybe just noting that these are possibilities might be, instead of do this.
And I think that the trail under the BPA easement and that work, that we can get to. It's some of the stuff at the marina in this area. I mean, we've got a different underlying landowner. Or actually, with the BPA easement, it is less the underlying landowner and the BPA easement. It's more the BPA easement that is restricted there. But we're building a relationship with BPA, and we should be able to move forward with the things under the easement. But this property and that property that you got in the big red dashes, in that case, it is the underlying landowner.
Yeah, and that is next step. So to be clear, the next step is we sit down with the city and the district, and we take all these ideas, and then we say what's feasible, and then we bring what's feasible back to the PAC, and the PAC helps to create projects. Like what should be the priority projects? Norma, you had a question.
Yeah, I think that you kind of answered it right there. But I also, I don't want people to think that we're not taking their input into consideration. So I kind of want to educate the public on, hey, we took it into consideration, but because these people own it or it's owned by this, there's no way that we can create whatever a suggestion was, like a fishing platform or whatever's not being able to create there. But I do want the public to know that we did listen and we did put it in there, but once it was checked, there's just nothing that we could do to make that work.
Yep.
Yes, I think there's a way to do that, but there's so many ideas that we might not be able to. We might have to be a little bit more generic and let people know that we heard all your inputs and cataloged. See the meeting minutes. We've heard it, but we're trying to be intentional. But some things are not feasible, so we might have to be a little generic, and maybe that's part of that is we can educate the public in the next round of engagement that we do. But that's a good point, Norma. Thank you. All right. Other waterfront things that we heard, again, it's not all inclusive, but maintenance and cleanup again came up to the top. Providing river recreation, paddleboarding, kayaking, paddle boats, jet skis, we heard them all. Providing rental opportunities, concessions, additional amenities, adding sports facilities or improving like the volleyball court that's there, reestablishing the sand volleyball court, adding pickleball. Safety was a concern around the play. Lighting along the path was highly desirable, not just for use, but also just the reflection off the water. Parking improvements, especially around the RV overflow area. Trail, widen the trail. Many felt that the trail was just too narrow, especially for multi-purpose use. And then signage. I'm gonna pick up my pace so we can make sure we get through this. Looking at city parks, shade and trees was important, particularly along the Boardman Ave edge. There was a desire to, there's a desire to improve the field conditions, maintain the baseball diamonds for the younger youth, and then in general, just maintenance of the park facility. There was an idea of adding public art to the basketball court by redoing the surfacing with some sort of decorative mural, and then revamping the play area, adding early childhood play and improving the shade at that play structure. Other things that were commented on was this was a preferred location for the splash pad, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. Accessibility upgrades, again, this is across all parks, but to the play, pavilion, basketball court, there really needs to be addition of paths and then the removal of vertical kind of edges. The city's adopted a bike rack, or will be adopting a bike rack policy, so adding amenities to meet current code. Seating and gathering, adding benches at the soccer field, barbecue areas, and a pavilion. Lighting and maintenance were the things that were big ticket items at the city park.
So,
Go ahead, Norma.
From what and you can correct me, George, if I'm wrong, but are we not switching soccer over back to Sam Boardman?
Correct, we are.
Say that again.
We are, well, the park is switching. We used to have soccer at Sam Boardman and we're going back to Sam Boardman. So there will be no youth soccer at the city park.
Oh, no youth soccer. Okay.
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 That doesn't mean that the soccer field needs to go away, but maybe the soccer field can become more of a multi-purpose facility at City Park. I mean, people
And
still
there
might
was
want to go there and
talk,
play a pickup game.
Yeah, because there's always people there. If you drive by, there's always somebody kicking the ball around. The Mets are there.
Yeah, that was noted. Another idea that was talked about was maybe relocating the sports field to a sports complex, and then maybe creating other spaces like the splash pad at City Park. That's one of the reasons the splash pad was desirable here, is maybe because it's close to other things like play, basketball. There's a variety of recreational opportunities at City Park, and so it made it a favorable location. City Hall Park. Norma, I think you were there, so you were helping with some of those map exhibits, but there's the thought of adding an overnight dog kennel at the north end of the field house, adding racquetball courts, and then updating the play, including concerns about safety of kids running into the street. So providing a fence around the play area and then more swings to the play structure, in addition to revamping the play. This was a splash pad alternative location. There's mixed feedback about this location though, because there's concerns over the lack of shelter, the hillside terrain, and then it's going to impact the park use. People appreciate the shaded picnic tables at this park, but they still would like to see additional shade. And then there was interest in a dog park and adding ping pong tables at this site. Which this might be, maybe along the north side they were thinking of the dog park. I'm not sure, but those were again, a glimpses. It doesn't include everything for the City Hall Park.
And I think the idea behind the overnight dog kennel and the conversation that I heard that night was not necessarily for community members, but so that way the animal control here could store a dog overnight.
Oh, okay.
Right, because when we pick a dog up at 8 p.m.,
Yes.
it's an awful lot of disruption to the place we take it. If we could leave it and take it at 8 a.m. the next morning, it's trying to manage the programmatic offerings, not creating a place for people to bring their dogs.
Okay, so I don't know if that needs clarification on that, if that's going into the plan, but.
Let's not get that out there. We're storing their dogs overnight.
Yeah.
For free. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, it's not a doggy daycare. It's not a doggy
Norma,
daycare.
was that your idea?
To do that.
It was. But I was talking about my job when I said it. And I was talking to Brenda about it. I think that would be a great idea to have that. But we were just
For
talking
animal
about like the
control.
location.
Yes,
And you're talking about animal control, correct?
Correct.
yes.
Yes. Okay, that might need to be added to that as animal control option or something.
Yeah.
Animal control housing, criminal.
All right, I'm gonna move on, guys. We can dive into these details. So we'll have a work session with the city and the district, and we can dive into these details. If you want others to attend, that's fine. But it'll be a long drawn out work session where we're gonna hash through a lot of these, what's feasible, what's not. But let's moving through just so we can get through it. Hillview Park Sports Complex was by far the most supported use of the site, introducing multiple sports facilities, walking paths, play, mini golf, dog park, splash pad. A one-stop shop was one of the phrases that I heard at one of the meetings. This has the potential to be that. There's a desire for additional shade and walking trails, lighting again. One thing that did come up for the Hillview Park is that there's a conflict whether it should be used for housing or whether it should be used for park use. So there's uncertainty whether it should be used for park use by several in the community survey results, since it was previously used for housing. So maybe the city should clarify their intent, or if housing is still even a possibility. But that was something that was brought up as a negative to park. Why not do housing? Tuscany Park.
We'll figure that out. Yes.
You'll see it in all the neighborhood parks that just essential things for a park are playground, shade, seating, access to water, or the water fountains, misters, and then there's different ideas on what recreational facilities should be there. This was suggested to be a tennis court or pickleball, and then a designated dog space.
One people.
It's not big for a tennis court.
What was that?
Oh, we're just talking about they won't want a pickleball court in the middle of their housing development.
I think
Yeah.
the concern
And this
there
would,
would
you know,
be the traffic impacts.
The noise.
Noise.
The noise. Have
The
you
noise of
been to a
pickleball.
Yeah.
pickleball
Yeah,
court?
Yeah.
they're noisy as can be.
Really, I never played, so I'm unaware.
There is a desire for pickleball within the community. So maybe that's why it's showing up at some of these sites. It's because it is desirable. So again, at the River Ridge, you're going to see play, shaded seating, shade. People did mention that they like, I guess there's an open field in the River Ridge development where they go with their dog. They prefer to go to an open field than to the dog park, with the comment that we received. So I don't know if there's a way to accommodate dogs in these parks, but this is a theme that I keep hearing, some sort of dog accommodations, and then access to water, and then amenities like electrical outlets, a covered space, a defined entrance to the park. And then while we're on the site, things like articulated crosswalks and connections, safe crossings on the street should be kind of standard to park, neighborhood park development. Zuzu Park, some ideas were add a nature play area, a skills park, a playground, a baseball field, sand volleyball court, seating, again, access to water, lighting was a big concern to improve safety. Parking was also a big concern since it's a bit of a cluster on that street to park. And then one of the things that's great about this particular site is the tree cover. So keep the trees.
That's gonna be gone here soon. If we get
All right, indoor facilities. Indoor facilities, all things that we've heard before and were heard in the some of the survey results, expanded weight room, more exercise rooms. We heard create separate locker rooms, install a sauna, add basketball courts, the idea of remove the rock wall and move it to another facility to allow expansion maybe of some of the existing needs that the rec center has. The pool, adding a diving area, use it for competitions. And then for classes and programs, more instructors, more classes. There's a list, and this is not exhaustive. We'll provide a list though of some of the classes and programs people are desiring. Better accessibility and sign up for online was the thought here, particularly to sign up for swim lessons and pool classes, and then offer youth-focused activities. There were several comments about membership and pricing, which I think is interesting. George, I think you'll want to review these in more detail, but not just lower gym memberships or scholarships for qualifying people, but maybe discounts or gym-specific pass or gym-only pass for a certain amount of months, lowering fees for student athletes, expanding membership to access to those outside of Boardman, additional fees for non-taxpayers to make the center profitable, option to purchase monthly passes for business staff and clients to improve their mental health. And then in regards to hours and accessibility, extending your hours, open on Sundays. Again, digital access is a barrier, and then make the pool class schedule easier to navigate online. Again, that came up. And then enhance customer service with additional staff were some of the big things that were covered at about the rec center. The field house, general input that we got back from the community. The field house is considered underutilized, and whether it's due to lack of community knowledge or awareness that it's available, there's a desire to share it more with the community. Other conversations said that it is available to community, so maybe it's just an advertising thing. People would like to explore a year-round use for multiple sports, including indoor soccer. This is a feasibility thing. It sounds like this is probably not feasible for this facility, but we should talk about that between city and district staff. There's a suggestion to add a gym component to the field house. There's questions about management, who manages it, and could it be under district management for broader community access? Again, better advertising. And then through several conversations, it was clarified on what the existing use is. It's used for police training, baseball, and school district indoor practice, and that the turf that's inside it limits activity types. So all that should be taken into consideration when we start to have these refining conversations on what's feasible or not in the facilities. Other indoor suggestions that were go ahead.
Okay.
Other indoor suggestions included, there's an obvious need to expand indoor recreation opportunities. Anything from turf fields, soccer fields, football, multi-sports complex, futsal, or wall tennis. Those were all some things that were mentioned. A dance studio, a teen center, an indoor track were mentioned. There's a need for community gathering space other than the senior center. A Funland style adventure park with diverse indoor recreational spaces for families and children. Expand the rec center, that was a big one. Arcade and entertainment revenue, and then some revenue generating ideas were indoor mini golf, trampoline park, and a play area for young children, and then a large event space. Those are all ideas for additional indoor facilities. Special use facilities, big things here was site cleanup, seating, spectator seating, possibly adding an air dome or indoor facility, improving parking access by paving the driveway and parking lot, adding a play component, and then it sounds like go ahead.
Oh, I was just answering. Tori asked who owned them. I just was telling her Oregon Potato.
Okay, sorry. I should add that to the title.
We have a contract with you.
The Wayside Parks, there was a desire to add rest stops with potential showers on both sides. Add parking. This might be an error. I think there's parking on the east side of Main Street, and they're saying add parking on the west side. I'm not sure, but that should be clarified. But whatever you did on one side, do it on the other side, is what the person was saying. Add sidewalks and lighting, covered wagon repairs.
The covered wagon disintegrated. It won't be repaired.
Ah, okay. We'll
And
move.
and Giselle, I can provide you.
Yeah.
I can provide you the parking. I should be able to shortly be able to provide you the proposed parking plan for the southwest quadrant. We don't have any design on the north side at all, but after the build this summer,
Okay.
there will be parking on the southwest side.
Okay, so that must be what they were talking about, because I think I labeled it on the southeast, but I think it was meant to be on the southwest.
Yeah,
Okay.
southeast parking is brand new. Southwest parking will be there in less than a year.
Okay, got it. And then the BPA block 2 is the final facility. So some of these things are just not feasible, but this is because of the BPA limits what you can do under their power lines. But things that were mentioned were 1, an indoor soccer facility, relocating the skate park is 2, crosswalk across Main Street, 4, nature play, and then the dog park will be located on the east side of Main Street here. 6, continue the connection between Olson and Main Street, extending Oregon Trail Road. Adding 8 and 9, or 8 is a pump track and bike trails, 9 is rifle and handgun range, and then 10 archery range. And then just some other community input. The senior center is really excited about connecting to the BPA easement, possibly drawing people using it into their facility for lunch or to use it as a rentable community space. And then there was a lot of support to create more sports and athletic fields between sports multiplex, outdoor volleyball, basketball, soccer, tennis, pickleball, badminton, and a multi-sports field. So that sports theme, I think we're seeing it in almost every park to incorporate sports where you can, sports facilities. There's a big desire to have an emphasis on walking and biking infrastructure. Considered dog use, public art, whether through murals, statues, free community art classes. Then as far as the play component, people would like a play. It could be a nature play or a playground. And then green space, some ideas were a flower garden and a flower garden park and a nature playscape were some of the ideas for the play and green space. And then some support amenities along the trail, including picnic tables, drinking fountains, misters. And then other things people recommended was adding a restroom, EV charging stations, and benches along the path. And then community gathering spaces, suggestions like could this space support farmers market, seasonal picnic areas, or outdoor events were some of the thoughts. And then unique suggestions, a golf driving range, BMX trails, improved skate park, indoor soccer field. All right, let's take 5. We're behind on time, but anything, we can take a few minutes just to kind of collect our thoughts, provide comments if you want, or feedback.
I think it would be interesting I mean, there's some really cool ideas in there. I do think that the conversation, and Giselle, you and I and George probably need to really have a conversation about who all we should have in the room when we do this when we really go through this as staff with your team about who we need in the room to kind of go through and go feasible, not feasible, unwilling landowner. I mean, I think there's a lot of that we're going to have to do. I would also say that there may
Yeah.
be some federal unwilling landowners that if we present them a park master plan that says this is what the community wants, maybe we can find a way to move the dime in places where historically we haven't been able to. So there could be real value in not losing those ideas, but framing them in such a way that, hey, BLM, or hey, Army Corps, we're gonna publicly tell people that you don't want this to happen on your public, on our public land. And I think I would ask you guys as the drafters of the final document to make sure that there's a really clear delineation that that is public land. And that we can find that mechanism to push back to the BLM and to the Army Corps, because they can be incredibly frustrating. And in this region, they do have, I mean, there are 5 Native American treaties that they have to figure out how to deal with, but I think there's a real local frustration with how that process has been managed. So I think we have to be conscientious, but I don't have any problem clearly delineating it as public land and also showing what people would like to see happen with our public lands. Now, the BPA easement is different because the underlying landowner under most of the BPA easement is private. And over time, we'd like that to be the city rather than private owners. We're still going to have to deal with the easement issues. But if we're the underlying landowner, we can move ideas forward and work with BPA on that. There is one section that the underlying landowner, I believe, is the Army Corps, and it's the section, it's just the next one to the west. But beyond that one, most of it is public or private ownership. So as we move that ownership, that BPA easement will become easier to deal with. There are some things that are on that list of things to do in the easement area that we won't get to with the BPA. We just won't get there. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Great
I think
list,
there's
though.
a way that you can phrase it. There's a lot, and that wasn't, again, it's not exhaustive. So
right.
I'm really pleased. I hope. How do you feel? Do you feel pleased with the response that you got from the community?
I do. I'm very pleased. I mean, you know, Brandon was really disappointed in how many people responded to the community survey we did in the fall, but I think we had a really good response. Certainly statistically, it was an excellent response. And same thing with this one. And again, I'm really pleased with the number of Hispanics. We need to keep working on that front. But I'm pleased. I think that the input has been great. The number of people who participated. You know, we need to keep working our local contacts to continue to push, particularly the next one that, you know, when we're doing projects and getting towards, okay, what do we really want to do? We want to push that one again, and maybe we can reach a few more markets, a few more clusters of people, increase that Hispanic participation number again. But no, I'm pleased. I don't know, George, chime in.
No, I'm good with it. It's got great information on what the public wants, and I know that's what I wanted to get to my board, what they want.
Yeah. Well, we'll try to do a collective summary. I mean, you've got all the meeting summaries, but put everything in a spot, and then we'll use that to really dive into the details with staff, city staff, and district staff on crossing out things that aren't feasible, or maybe this is tabled and because another agency is involved, and so maybe it's still a goal, but there needs to be further coordination, and then we can start identifying what's the feasible projects that are coming out of this that the PAC can weigh in on at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So let's dive into facility locations, starting with the splash pad. I've tried to put kind of the pros and cons to the 3 locations, the 3 preferred locations that are City Park, a future sports complex, and then City Hall Park. There is a fourth location, though, kind of keeping it in the vicinity of where it is. A lot of people felt, why move it? It's got really good visibility from the highway. People know where it is. So why move it? So that was the public input, but also in the PAC packet, there was an engineering letter that talked about the pros and cons of where to locate the facility. And basically what it comes down to is in the northeast sector of town, close to the Sage Center or near where the existing splash pad is the ideal location, in that the infrastructure that was designed there was designed with enough capacity to handle the splash pad. So if the splash pad is relocated to any of these three locations, there is a infrastructure issue, which will result in additional capital costs of, I think it was around $50,000 for those capital costs, just to get the splash pad operational in any other sector of town. So taking that into consideration, going through kind of the negatives and positives, City Park was, it felt like by far the preferred location. Some of the reasons is that there's already existing facilities there, like play, a covered structure, a diverse recreational fields and courts. It's already a popular recreation site, and there's already, it'll complement what's already there. Some people felt that if the existing sports fields were relocated to a sports complex, that it would make room for a splash pad at City Park. But there is this engineering component where the capital cost for relocating it to City Park will bring on that additional cost of at least $50,000. The second alternative is the sports complex. Again, the phrase that keeps coming to my mind is a one-stop shop. People really like this idea of creating a more central, multi-sport, multi-use park at Hillview Park. And so locating the splash pad in a newly developed park with all these complementary uses, including sports and play amenities, was really important, and made this location very favorable. However, the site, Hillview Park, is currently undeveloped, so this is not an immediate option. And then additionally, the environmental or the engineering letter that will also result in increased capital costs. And then City Hall Park, there was some support for this, but it was kind of mixed, I would say, the response from people. People felt that it would be centrally located. When I talked to some of the staff at the elementary school, they said that they like walking down to City Hall Park and can incorporate it into their curriculum. So having access to the splash pad might be, at that location, might be nice for the elementary school. Others felt that it's not an ideal recreational destination because it's forcing people to come to City Hall and visit City Hall Park when they don't recreate there. The hillside, they felt, also might pose a problem. And then additionally, the engineering cost of locating it in this location. And then the fourth, which we just talked about, keeping it near the Sage Center, existing location. It's already established in that location. It's got strong sightlines and visibility. It's expanding. There's new housing going in there, so it could serve new housing communities if it's planned for that area. The existing infrastructure was designed to handle the capacity of the splash pad, and you know the cost and you know the operation of it at that location, so you don't have to do any sort of water reuse system. So those are all the thoughts behind keeping it in its similar location in the northeast quadrant of town. And then finally, other sites that were mentioned included Marina Park, but people kind of shied away this because of the mosquitoes. But people did like the idea of the splash pad next to the water in that adjacency. Some other parks do that well. Other people mentioned the BPA easement, park blocks, and then one person even mentioned in front of the rec center at the corner of Olson and Columbia. But again, not strongly supported, but those were of mention. So let's open it up to everybody. What's your thoughts on locations? The goal today is to share a preferred location so that the city can move forward with selecting the final location.
So under the BPA lines doesn't work because the interaction between water and power. So the,
Which one?
the,
Has to be moved.
yeah, the BPA easement, park blocks doesn't work. You can't put a water feature under the power lines. So that one needs to come off
Yeah,
the
you
list. Norma, you have some input?
Oh no, I was just telling Jessica where that was.
Oh.
What you're talking about. Sorry.
So Mike,
It looks
did you
like
have
you really
something?
wanted our
I just
attention.
think the best place out of all of these that we picked would be the city park. Granted, and they all three relocation ideas require the infrastructure
Right, it's the
expense. So it's gonna have
impacts.
to happen if it moves.
Well, not necessarily. If it moves and stays in the same general vicinity, it doesn't have an impact to the lift stations. If it comes down here,
That was all gonna be moved. Park and everything.
right, well, the dog park is being moved to under the BPA easement. That will actually happen as soon as spring starts and they finish the project. Given the survey results, the skate park may just go away. Cause there doesn't seem to
Yeah, we're
be,
gonna get to that.
that.
Yeah.
Now where the skate park is actually behind things, it's on land that's zoned differently. And that could become a splash pad, but it could go there and that wouldn't. So the frontage ones, we're moving the ones along the frontage because that's all zoned for commercial activity. Where the skate park is currently at, has a residential zoning on it. So that could become a park space. And I don't know if Tori's heard this one or not, so I'm glad you're sitting down. Mike Lee's favorite location is actually in the green space between the Sage Center and the Learning Center.
Just ignite.
Well, I think there's some problems because there's a lot of pipe in the ground in that area and a lot of other stuff. But that's actually Mike's favorite location because again, it has limited impact relative to the lift station. So what happens if, because of the amount of water that the splash pad uses, if we don't reuse the water has to go through the lift stations. And so the lift stations do not have the capacity for that water. So the alternative then is to figure out how to reuse the water. And if you reuse the water, that's the capital cost at the splash pad itself, would be the reuse component that would be a part of the splash pad development. So again, not undoable, but significant costs with that. And then you are managing that reuse process and you have to manage that reuse water. So there's just a lot of options. So yeah, you got the map there, Giselle. So
Where is the potential location?
so see where
Here?
on your map where it says electric vehicle charging station. Now just go up and left.
Yeah.
Left. Yeah,
Here.
right in that corner, in that big pie shaped corner.
Okay.
Yep, that whole corner in there.
So
Parking would be on the north side of their lot.
Well, we'd
Yeah,
have to work with the Sage Center and we probably want to figure out how to that northern edge of the parking lot that is brown. We'd want to work with them to expand how that parking is done. I know they have a lot of RV and bus parking there.
that brown stuff is the bioswale.
Yeah.
That's the required bioswale that we have
Oh.
to have for drainage.
For the parking area.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's no edge. That edge looks like it's 20 feet. It's
Yeah.
actually like 4 feet.
Yeah,
And it has utilities all the way in it because our utility run on the backside of the parking lot.
okay,
And then out there in that space, like if you're following Olson Road in about 20 feet, there's pipe, gas, fiber, power, at least 20 feet in or more.
okay.
Because when we put in that sign, you see where that sign is? That
Yeah.
sign literally like We
Right here.
had to move that 3 more times because we ran across a gas
Well, you
line.
don't see them, but if you go up to the north end of that park, that lot where you turn into the college.
Yeah.
There's boxes right there. You
Yeah.
don't see them, but they're there because I used to mow around them.
Yeah.
And the college is responsible, I don't know what, if it's necessarily theirs, but they're responsible for a third of that.
Yeah.
Property,
Yeah,
Yeah,
because we have to mow it.
yeah,
Yeah.
'cause you go,
Yeah, right
college,
there.
college owns all of this. When it drops off, the college owns that, and then those utilities are literally here, so now you're down to just this space right here, and we have a bioswale, and we can't have the bioswale is gonna be your issue because
You have to
Yeah.
fence it. and
okay, so scroll the map to the north.
that right there.
So my concern with that, so the other location that we've
This?
talked about, yep, is between the rec center and Columbia Avenue, which does
Yep.
impact the rec center's ability to expand. And we have a 230 kV line there, which is also another water and power issue. So I don't know at the end of the day where we end up putting this silly thing. Or, well, yes, we could put it at the cemetery. Oh, we have a cemetery board member here tonight. We could talk to him about that option.
Why don't we go out on the Oregon potato? Why aren't we looking like pickleball, splash pad and everything else out like on part of the Oregon potato?
Norma's got something.
Where?
Did anybody talk to the senior center about putting anything?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We did. They said no. I meant to mention that.
Really,
No, they
George?
really want to use that. They want to use that space for senior housing or a cottage cluster for senior housing.
In all that green area that they have out there in the front?
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. You're
think there's
talking about let's see.
to the north.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, this space here was mentioned as a possibility, but the senior center wants to use it for other uses.
I don't know that
Did
current
somebody
zoning would
mention that-
support housing there.
No.
I mean, certainly something we could talk about, but current zoning doesn't support housing there, so.
We could do maybe.
The other problem with, yes, again, the other problem with putting the splash pad somewhere other than the northeast quadrant
The water.
is the water issue. And again, if, so go back to your list, what was the preferred site?
City Park.
The preferred
City
site was
Park.
City Park, which is where's City Park?
North of the freeway, keep going north. Keep going
Oh, it's
north.
north. Okay.
Yeah, you're in the vicinity, not,
Other way.
other way, you were closer.
West,
This way, over here.
Right
Yeah,
there.
zoom in, right there.
Right here.
Right there.
Okay, yeah, there we go. So people said if this is a pretty open spot, but people were saying if the ball fields got relocated to a multi-sport complex, then you've got all this space that could be developed. But maybe
Yeah.
it could fit here. The restrooms are already there. It does have some nice shade potentially around it, which is kind of nice. The restrooms are right there, and it's got other complementary uses. You can send, a kid can be playing on the playground, and then you could be using the splash pad. Was some of the thoughts behind it at this location, which by the surveys and discussions with people, this did seem to be the preferred public location. But the Stage Center wasn't really seen.
You got parking, you got amenities, you got the.
Yeah, it's at either City Hall or City Park, we are still installing a reused or recycled water system. So again, it's not that the city can't do that.
Right.
It's just a cost consideration, not only for the initial build, but for the ongoing maintenance, as I understand it. So again, it's not, I guess my takeaway. Go ahead.
Something to think about though is other costs associated with a splash pad are going to be a restroom facility. This has one. So there are other costs that might offset the cost for the water system, the water recycle system. So if you're starting with a blank site that has none of these facilities, easily a restroom is going to be $50,000.
Right.
just to install that.
Right.
Granted, this restroom needs upgrades too, but think about that too, from that perspective.
So we've come up with all the reasons why it doesn't work at the rec center, why it doesn't work at the Sage Center. We threw out the idea of the cemetery property. So Giselle, if you can take your map and
There's that.
scroll to the Sage Center and then just go a little further east from the Sage Center.
No.
Not the Sage Center, the rec center. Go to the rec center.
Yeah, right there.
I'm going.
That's
Here?
That's not,
that's Oregon Potato.
Oh
yeah,
yeah, okay, so where's my
Other way.
cemetery?
other way, west,
Cemetery to
go
the
west
west.
on
Yeah, it's
Columbia.
that
Oh, it is to the west. You're right. It is to the west. Yes. Okay, right
Right
there,
there.
that
This?
green space. Yes.
Okay.
So the cemetery district owns all of the property from the cemetery to the east to Olson. But that
Here?
right there,
No, it keeps
no,
going, it keeps
even
going.
further.
All the way to the rec center.
But don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just
Oh,
stay
wow.
here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they own a big piece. So they've got the fully developed portion of the cemetery and then the developing portion of the cemetery. And then they have another tract there that they are retaining for future expansion of the cemetery. And I don't know if it
Right
would be
here,
worth,
probably.
yeah, I don't know how people would feel about a splash pad next to a cemetery.
I think it'd be terrible.
Why don't we talk to Raina?
Yeah, every time you hit
Yeah,
that. board,
it's
you
getting
move it.
smaller and smaller though,
Oh.
because they've already fenced in a good, almost half of that. And it's all,
Been
finished,
Yeah.
finished ground,
They
and
did
so
this level
the other part's just a dumping area right now, but
To
it's
bring
gonna
in the
get,
elevation
yeah,
up.
it's gonna get something done pretty quick, I think.
Yeah, they're moving towards, they want to do something there.
I mean, the county does own two pieces near there.
You, a little bit east of that, doesn't Gloria own that property right there?
Keep going.
No, it's right there by the red, but yeah, kind of by your arrow on this lot, the one that has the next
No.
to the Mountain Valley land.
That's all
No.
cemetery.
That's all,
Cemetery property.
it's all owned by the cemetery district.
Everybody leases their own sections.
Next to the Mountain
in there.
Valley land, east
Yeah.
of it.
To get.
It's all cemetery and the,
It's probably around, a lot of that's probably Brownfield.
Mountain Valley land, they lease that all the way up to the housing project, or up to the housing developed right there to the neighborhood.
Your
And then The old sheriff's building, whatever that is now, that's all leased by individual entities.
I see.
So an option would be, again, we want to convert the property along the frontage of Front Street to commercial use, because that's what it's zoned for. But where the current skate park is, if we eliminate the skate park, that could be an option. I don't know that it's big enough for parking. We'd have to do a site evaluation there, but that that gets it off the commercial strip, and it does allow for so right there are the two parks. So that's the skate park, the rectangle, that's the
Yeah.
skate park.
I just wouldn't want it to go where it's going to get moved again. So would that be somewhere where it's never going to get moved again? Would that be a spot?
Well, I think a real benefit would be I like the idea of city park because it puts it in a park rather
Yeah.
than separating
Yeah.
it and making it a single use activity on a small piece of
Yeah.
land.
Yeah,
And that's our complaint we get when people come up to the station and they're thinking it's my problem. They come up and like, you need to have this, this, and this at the splash pad. I'm like,
Yeah.
It could be yours.
no.
Okay, so my takeaway here, I guess the thoughts I wanna be able to take back to Brandon and Mike is that City Park is at the top of the list. Would everybody agree with City Parks at the top of the list?
100%.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna take back to them. Okay, thank you. We've spent too much time
Right.
on that. Let's keep moving.
That's all right. That's all right. So we're just informing you the dog park has been decided to be on the east side of Main Street. We've got some good input on what that dog park might include. So now for the skate park, there's basically two thoughts. There's several survey respondents who say, hey, add a new skate park and include some fun features. However, it felt like when we talked to a lot of young people, I think, through this engagement process, and many felt it's not widely used local hobby, and so relocating the skate park was unnecessary, or having a skate park at all was unnecessary. Some people mentioned that locating it at the marina is taking up valuable space that they feel would be better suited for other amenities. With one other comment that was received about the marina location. People that did comment about the skate park who were in favor of a skate park basically said what kind of features they wanted. But this is kind of what we heard collectively, that it's not really a widely, it's not a youth hobby in the area. So we wanted to kind of truth test with the group here. Do you think that's true? Do you think that it's necessary or not necessary to relocate the skate park? Should it just go away, or should it be relocated?
I never see anybody use the skate park.
Let's
I've
hear from
only
them
seen a
first.
couple of kids in town using their skateboard. I'm a bus driver, so I see all the kids going home or going to school, and there's only at least 3 or 4. One for sure, all the time. One for sure. But at least 2 or 3 kids.
I drive like there all day, every day, 6 days, 5, 6 days a week, and I see a person maybe 8 times a year.
I've taken my RC car down there more than I've
Yeah.
seen people skateboard.
It
run-
more or less is the let's go smoke our pot. It's out of sight, out of mind. You can kind of hide down in there.
My kids don't think that's very.
So
No, it's not quality.
So
They
something-
don't like it because they snag on the
Yeah.
edges and everything else, and it's just not legitimately a skate park either.
Yeah, so is it the quality and the location that makes it not used, or
Yeah.
not a youth hobby, or is it just
Agree.
simply not a youth hobby? A couple comments that we heard was that there's a real void for active recreation for kids, like in the early teens and preteen years, that there's not a lot of recreational options for them, and so the skate park could be for that age group if enhanced better.
Yeah, I think I feel like maybe if they had a better skate park, there would be more kids that'd be like, oh, we should go skating. We should learn how to skate. And I think that just because we don't have that available for them, they're not willing to learn it.
So the question I might ask then is if the sports fields, if we do the sports complex and we put the sports fields there, could City Park be repurposed to be the place that you can go picnic, you can go to splash pad, maybe you put a skate park in there it's a better build of a skate park? I mean, is City Park the place where you put that mix of a variety of things that you can do that are smaller scale, that maybe have more group impact?
Possibly. And then where would they park if we had a ton of people? Was that
Could
an
make more
issue
parking.
that we were talking about parking? Was that an issue at all that ever came up?
Yeah, City Park has some parking issues, but I think there's an opportunity to reconfigure parking, particularly on, I know the south side better than the north side, but I think you could reconfigure the south side to be head-in parking, and you could increase the number of cars that you could park there.
And you could refigure the other side a little bit by extending that parking area that's there. Like where the backstop for the baseball field is, you could make that parking right there and just shorten it 20 feet, wouldn't be anything.
Right.
I mean, it wouldn't take away that much space as far as usable.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity. I think that maybe our focus with City Park, again, next year fiscally, we're gonna design something. So I'm hoping we have some really cool high school design options for City Park. And if we do, then we can build on that in our design. And then that's maybe where we do our first build.
I think City Park should be the focus of it. It's kind of
Say either,
a gym park.
It really is.
I would say I live in a community where there's a really nice skate park, and it gets used. But one of the biggest problems we have is that it is next to a little kids park. And so the older kids influencing the little kids, and there's a lot of complaints about that sort of thing. So I would say either scratch the skate park or not locate it next to the spray park. And
That's what I'd say. I would say utilize your city park and scratch the skate park and get your splash pad at the city park and develop your swings and amenities to go around the splash pad to complement it.
I don't know how many people in the room, I know Giselle, this won't be for you or your team, but up in the Tri-Cities where the carousel is, they have got a phenomenal splash pad. It's a splash pad. It's, there's a covered feature there and got the big blue cover. I mean, it's such a phenomenal location. And it is attached to a sports complex. They've got 4 baseball fields there. There's a big green space. There's a really nice walking path. City Park couldn't accomplish all of that, but it could certainly accomplish some of those pieces that the splash pad, there's a play structure, there's some picnic area all right in there. I mean, that could be a real opportunity to look at, well, what if we could do something that could mimic that scaled for Boardman at City Park?
And I think if you reconfigure the baseball fields where they kind of went more back to back and kind of move things around and adjust where things are placed, like where the baseball fields for the little league, the T-ballers and stuff is placed, instead of going outfield to outfield.
Even if we got rid of the baseball fields there's so many other options for baseball fields, or if the
No.
sports complex is something.
If we build a sports, but that's the only location for our T-ballers to.
Yeah, I know, my
have it.
grandson plays in T-ball, but that's the only people that use it. Is the T-ball and minors. Everybody else plays somewhere else, most of the time out of town. And other than that, that's 2 months out of the whole year, or a month and a half out of the year. That baseball park on both ends, both sides over there, get used. I mean, the youth soccer was far more using of the space than the baseball is. And as far as I know, I've been playing baseball there since 5th grade, long time. And it's never been a good baseball diamond. It's always been terrible.
That's why you always put coach pitch and T-ball down there.
Yeah, it's not the best. I mean, the baseball field at the park down there is far superior to these by a long shot.
Okay. I like this conversation. Appreciate it.
How come we can't have T-ball down there?
Time, there's not enough time on the fields.
Do you feel like you have direction, Carla? I feel fuzzy on the direction. What I hear is splash pad preferred location is at City Park, but maybe an alternate location is at a sports complex, the sports complex development. Is that what I'm hearing? No.
I don't think, I think this is where because putting the splash pad at the port, this impacts one lift station. The sports complex that we're talking about out near Baylor would impact 2, if not 3 lift stations. So if it's a water feature, this is not going to be great, but it's better than anything south of the freeway.
Okay. Norma, did you have a comment?
Oh, no.
I was on my phone a little.
Okay.
Well, I think I did.
All right, and then for the
Like that would be a really great thing.
then for the
And out there,
for the
there's
skate-
plenty more room.
What was that, Stephanie?
I didn't hear.
Oh, for a sports complex out by Baylor Road would probably be a better fit for hosting larger events, if there's going to be competitions or anything like that.
Well, because that's because it's a blank slate out there, we can design it and build it so that we can figure out how to multi-purpose what we can multi-purpose. We can figure out how to put potential, make it an event space. We can put in new restroom facilities, adequate parking. We can bring the power in to light it. I mean, all of that stuff can happen at once. There you are. It's right there to the east or to the west. Yeah. A little further. There you go. No, next one.
Left.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, no, I think I have good direction. We've spent enough time on that one. My apologies.
Okay, and then for the skate park, I'm hearing, don't dismiss having a skate park in Boardman. It could serve a valuable recreational need for kind of that age group we're talking about. And a better facility, we're just not sure about where, so it sounds like.
Yeah, and maybe it goes at the sports complex, because I agree. I think the conflict between ages of kids, if we're gonna put a splash pad and play structures at City Park, it's not the right place for a skate park.
Because
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you,
So
this
I would,
it is the littles.
Mm-hmm.
It's littles. It's the little.
Yeah, you get much past about 8 and you're too old for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Cool.
all right, so I'm hearing sports complex preferred location is the skate park preferred location is the sports complex. Our
Yeah.
decision? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Great. Woo, all right. Okay, park naming competition. So the thought is that it'll be a community-wide competition, and that people will have the chance to rename potentially these parks, Zuzu Park, the 4 River Ridge subdivision parks. I have it wrong, sorry. It's backwards. It's the lower one, but it's mislabeled. The naming competition is the River Ridge subdivision parks, Hillview Park, Park Blocks, and potentially City Hall Park. So
Yes.
we wanted your input from the PAC. Are there any additional parks that should be added to the park naming? Again, I'm sorry, this is labeled incorrectly. The park naming competition, or is any of that should be removed?
Which one is, so you have 4 at River Ridge?
There's 2 currently built and 2 coming. So we'll name them all right now.
There's none on,
We own that.
Oh, you do.
okay, yeah. So, and you guys don't own the one that's off of Luca?
No, so the park in Tuscany is a homeowners association park. The 4 parks in River Ridge, 2 are already owned by the city, and then there'll be 2 more that we're actually talking to them about potentially combining the 2 final ones into just one to get a little more size. So there will be either 3 or 4 parks at River Ridge. The city owns those, but we do not own the park in Tuscany.
I would love the kids around that area to be the ones to be able to vote for a name. I think that would give them, kind of like, this is our part. We named it. So I don't know.
So Norma, I'm sorry,
I'm
I
having
didn't
a
catch
hard
everything
time
you
hearing.
said.
You think the neighborhood should name the park?
Yeah, I feel like the neighborhood kids probably, I think that would be, it is in their neighborhood. I don't know. I just feel like that would be kind of a cute thing. Say, hey guys, you guys live here. Let's do a competition within that subdivision, and not just the kids, but also the adults to participate in naming those parks.
So it is designed, Norma, as a community-wide ability. So, I would encourage people in that neighborhood to participate and submit names. The PAC will do an initial review. If there's a lot of names, we'll narrow them, and then the city council will make the final decision on the park names.
Okay.
So, do these cover all the parks that kind of need to be renamed in everybody's mind?
Yes.
Or is there anything missing? Is the city acquiring Tuscany Park?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
Wait, do you guys want to rename the city park?
Not City Park.
City Hall.
City Park is
City
still
Hall.
gonna be City
City Hall
Park.
Park.
Just the park here at City Hall.
Oh, the tots?
Oh,
Okay.
this is City Park.
No,
It'll make it less confusing to have a different name, City Park or City Hall Park.
you're renaming.
Well,
All right.
because right now,
Um,
the name of it is,
There
isn't
it
it
is labeled.
But
tots?
I'm gonna just throw this out there. City Hall Park has actually been deemed to be Pettigrew Park.
That was.
Yep.
So
What
are
was it?
you, but does that include the field house and the basketball
The
court?
whole space over here, the whole green space was deemed to be Pettigrew Park.
Who did that?
That was done through, somebody brought that to my attention, and we actually deemed that at my awards banquet 2 years ago. And presented
So
to
the chamber made a decision.
No, it was brought to me by a committee back in the day when Karen was here at the city. I don't know what process they went through. They just said, we want you to recognize Karen at your awards banquet to provide this park to be named Karen Pettigrew. Oh, that came from Lamb Weston because it's Tiny Tots or whatever.
Yeah.
And Lamb Weston said we are on board for naming that Karen or Pettigrew Park.
See, I don't know that the city did anything with
No.
that.
No, but but Karen was the city manager at the time and she agreed.
Okay,
Did it ever get documented or anything else? Probably not.
nope, I don't think there was anything that
I'm
was.
just telling you history on that from Lamb Weston.
Okay, so Giselle, I think the outcome of this conversation is that City Hall Park might actually be Pettigrew Park. I'm gonna have to chase that back.
Okay.
Pettigrew,
Okay.
Pettigrew.
And I think that was a
So,
conversation.
we're taking
No.
City Hall Park off the list. Well, we'll wait for you to confirm to take the City Hall Park off the list, correct?
Yeah, let me do a little work before,
Okay.
I've got time before city council next week. I can amend the document again if I need to.
All right, and then, looking at the top blue box here, we need to select the PAC now tonight needs to select a park for the students to design. The students preferred to design only one park instead of having to pick a park of their choice. So we're asking the PAC to narrow down which park they should focus on designing. Then we will provide them a program. So if it's City Park, they'll provide them a program to include a splash pad, at least basic necessities, splash pad, improved play, refined parking. We'll give them a program, and then they can add to it, be creative and add to it if they want to. Go ahead, Norma.
But since we're thinking of moving the splash pad, should we just not add that in there? Not give them that option since we're already gonna move the splash pad over to the city park.
Well, but if we
Right,
ask them
yeah,
to design City Park, we want them to include the splash pad in their design.
Oh yeah, sorry. I
Right.
was thinking of just one park already in my mind. Sorry.
That's okay. So I'm just using City Park as an example that we're building the program through these discussions, and on that program now it's splash pad, playground improvements. So we'll give students that program of what they need to incorporate in their site plan, and then they can add additional creative things based on their own creativity. So the parks that are under consideration are the Zuzu Park, River Ridge Park, Hillview Park, and City Park. So which one should we select? Any comments on pros or yays or nays?
I was already in my mind thinking of the Zuzu Park since there's nothing on there, or any of the four River Ridges because there's nothing on there either. I mean, Zuzu has
Okay.
trouble, but
And-
that's gonna go away, right, Shamer? That makes sense.
So I think that the
Any other
Hillview,
thoughts?
yeah, for me, Hillview Park is out there a ways. I mean, to get to that. The 4 River Ridge subdivision parks are all kind of small. I think we basically designed City Park tonight. And Zuzu Park is actually the best blank slate for somebody to come in and really have fun with. So I kind of would like to recommend that we have them design Zuzu Park.
All right.
But I want Mike and George
Any-
to agree or disagree.
Oh, I agree. I agree also. I would like to see, I don't think the majority of the community knows that park even exists.
No, they don't.
Because I lived here a long time and I didn't know it was there until I started working on a house back there for a customer. I had no idea that it was even there.
Yeah, and it needs so much.
Yeah.
It needs
I mean,
so
it's a
much.
big slate or a template or something
Yes.
cool, but it definitely needs work.
Yes.
All I know is that the
Yep.
food park, whenever anybody brings it to anybody's attention, safety is everybody's concern.
Yep.
Local residents won't even take their own kids to that park.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
true.
Yeah, no, it needs lighting, it needs parking, it needs a restroom.
It needs hours of use.
It
All of
needs,
that.
it needs visualization from the police department to
Yep.
make it a part of their
Rounds,
rounds.
it needs a lot. I really I love that as the blank
Yeah.
slate. I just love that one.
All right. So Zuzu Park. Awesome.
George can speak on it.
Okay. We have 8 minutes to do goals, so we don't really have time to do this. So I don't want to rush this process. So maybe what we could do today is it's a goal. Part of this project is to come up with a vision statement, goals, and objectives to how we're going to accomplish the plan. And so what I've done is gone through all the input that's been gathered and created 7 goals that in my mind represent the community input that's been given. So maybe what I will do is just go through and read the goals and the objectives, and then we can just kind of talk about those and kind of keep it high level. And then we're going to have to revisit this topic at another time. But the vision statement is Boardman's Parks and Recreation System will provide vibrant, accessible, and well-maintained spaces that enhance quality of life, foster community connections, and create the city's unique cultural and celebrate the city's unique cultural and natural assets. Through thoughtful planning and sustainable investment, our parks will serve as welcoming destinations for recreation, health, and economic growth, ensuring that all residents and visitors, regardless of age, ability, or background, have opportunities to explore, play, and thrive. I'll go through the 7 goals. 1, create an inclusive, accessible, and equitable park system. And the objective is ensure all residents, regardless of age, ability, or income, have equitable access to safe, well-maintained parks and recreational opportunities. 2, enhance recreation and active lifestyles. So expand diverse year-round recreational opportunities that support physical activity, wellness, and enjoyment for all ages. 3, preserve Boardman's history, culture, and community identity. Integrate historical, cultural, and community elements into parks and programming to celebrate Boardman's identity. 4, strengthen community engagement and partnerships. So build strong relationships with residents, organizations, and businesses to support parks and recreation. 5, improve park infrastructure, safety, and connectivity. Ensure well-maintained, safe, and connected parks by investing in infrastructure and accessibility improvements. 6, ensure fiscal responsibility and long-term sustainability. So maintain a financially sustainable park system by securing diverse funding sources and prioritizing cost-effective investment. And 7, support economic growth, tourism, and workforce development. Leverage parks to strengthen Boardman's economy, attract visitors, and create workforce development opportunities. That was a lot. So kind of the goal of this exercise is to first confirm the goal that is, in fact, these goals represent the body of work that this master plan is hoping to do. And then I was hoping to get from the PAC committee key strategies. So here's an example of strategies, how we're going to accomplish that goal. We've expanded it out for goal 1. So for example, provide multi-generational, bilingual, and ADA accessible amenities, improve wayfinding and signage in multiple languages, ensure geographic equity by developing parks in underserved areas, offer financial assistance for low-income families through scholarships and sliding scale pricing, establish affordable rental programs for recreational equipment, develop adaptive and inclusive recreational element like equipment lending programs, expand youth and family programs that reflect Boardman's diverse communities. So those are just examples of kind of these key strategies and how we accomplish the goal. So I don't know, Carla, how to exactly to do this exercise. There's not enough time to give it the attention that it needs. So
I'd recommend you do
think
this.
that
I think you
Go
you
ahead.
need to go,
What do you
I
think?
think you've got all the base work done for it, but I think we open it up to the whole pack. So that, send this
Okay.
out to everyone and they can expand out on their own, and then we come back and
Great.
bring it together,
Like what we're gonna do.
like we're doing
We literally been doing this all day,
today.
all day.
So yeah, I'll work with you,
Happy-
Giselle. I think we can send the goals document out and we can maybe questionnaire it to some degree and try to get the PAC members to flow some things back to us. I'll work with you on that. We'll get something out to the PAC. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, then essentially we're looking for confirmation that the goals are relevant and appropriate. If things need to be modified or eliminated, that's fine. And then to build out these key strategies. So I will send that document for input. But here they all are kind of collectively. So, okay, 3 minutes. Whew.
Hey, do you have
That was
the
a
key
lot.
strategies for each of the goals then, like the last one?
I have key strategies, but I don't, they're my words. Yes, I do have key strategies for each of them and I could provide that. Do you think that would be helpful?
Yep.
To provide it and then,
We
okay.
can wordsmith your
Okay.
words and
Yep, we can work right
Okay.
with that, I think.
Well, and maybe what we can do
Okay.
to sell to, maybe what we can do on this end is do our own work session. And just open it
Great.
up to, I can coordinate it here. We can do it at City Hall. You could join by Zoom possibly. But I mean, we could get, if we got 6 or 8 of us around the table, we could Google Doc it kind of thing and just, in a couple of hours, probably refine the strategies.
Great.
Confirm the
Great.
goals, confirm the objective, and then refine the strategy. So I think we just need to put it on the
Great.
calendar and do it. Yep.
That would be helpful. And, these goals primarily came from that initial PAC meeting where we sat down, we talked about community values and we talked about project goals. And then they're substantiated by all the input that we've gotten has informed kind of the strategies that we're taking. And the strategies can evolve to some nature, but I think what I need is the goals to be, and the vision and the objectives to kind of be more concrete. And then maybe these strategies evolve by the end of the project. We come back and revisit them and we say, okay, the strategies should change a little bit.
Yep.
But okay, perfect.
Yep.
Well, thank you
Perfect.
all. 1 minute to spare. That was a lot to get through. Next steps. So we've now accomplished our second PAC meeting tonight. The next PAC meeting is April 15th, and I'm going to implore people to be there. This is probably going to be one of the most impactful meetings. It will be in person at City Hall, and this is where we're selecting projects. You'll select projects, which then will go out to the community to be prioritized. So we'll work with the city and the district on kind of narrowing down for each site what's feasible and what's not. We'll bring that to you as the PAC, and then you're going to help decide how to package the project. Is it the whole park development, or are we just going to address play at this particular site? So I think if you want to make an impact on the potential build out of some of these projects, please be present and encourage others in the PAC to be present as well. So April 15th, Tuesday 5 to 7 in person at City Hall. The next public meeting will be the final community meeting will be Tuesday, May 13th. So also just mark your calendars. And that will basically be the last open house and 2 meetings to really inform the project. The last PAC meeting will be just review of the final deliverable, the master plan deliverable. So I think these next 2 meetings are really important.
Okay. Well, we'll make you work really hard on the strategies then. Okay, so Tori can't be at that meeting on April 15th, so she has to do the strategies work.
So maybe Tori, you can be present for the work session with the city and the district. I think your input you'd be a very valuable partner in that work session on basically narrowing down a big funnel of information into feasible potential park projects, park improvement projects. Do you think you could be present for that if we work with everybody's schedule?
The man of the parks is not here that day
I
either.
will be gone with her.
He's
No,
gonna
but
be-
we're not gonna do that on the 15th. We're gonna do that sooner. I think what Giselle is talking about, we're gonna do sooner.
Yeah, I'm just saying I won't be here on the 15th as well.
Oh, you will not? Okay,
No.
let's see.
So we'll need to look at another date.
So should we change, let's see, the 15th? Darn it, because that's the week, that's not the May one is the one you're talking about, right, Carla?
Yeah,
Can we get it to the 17th?
Okay. Let's see,
But
yeah, I will probably be the only one traveling from my team to this meeting, so Thursday, the 17th.
In the
Yeah.
evening, afternoon like we are?
5 to 7. Let's still be 5 to 7.
what are we doing now?
We're moving the April 15th
Ah.
meeting possibly to the 17th.
I'll just put that on the calendar.
What time are we looking on the 17th?
It would still be the 5 to 7 PM.
Perfect. Can we not do it Thursday by any chance?
Not Thursday, okay. Oh, Ethan, hi, I didn't know you're online, so not what other day works for you, Tori and George, besides that Thursday? And
So Ethan, did you say that the
That's what you-
17th does not work for you?
Correct. I have medic school Thursday nights.
Okay,
Does Wednesday the
Could
16th
you do
work for anybody?
so what if we waited and did it a week later on the 22nd? Oh, that doesn't work for staff, but I could make it, I wouldn't be able to be at the meeting on the 22nd for, well, no, that starts at 6. So I could do 5 to,
I have a board meeting.
on the 22nd,
Yes,
okay.
you know.
Hey, Giselle,
Yeah.
I think we stick to the 15th. I'm just gonna be honest. I think we just stick to the 15th, and Tori and George are gonna have to live with what the rest of the pack decides.
And I think Tori and George, we need to do a work session, maybe a virtual work session where we sit down for a couple hours with the district, a couple hours with the city, and we hash through these projects. So maybe being present at that before we even go to PAC would be, your presence would be valuable.
Yeah, I think we can make that work. We'll keep the current PAC meeting on the 15th, on tax day.
Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank
I know
you.
it's a long
Have a good
time.
night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.